Good
Uh,
morning.
Good morning. Hi, Christina, can you give me 1 minute? Be right back.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. I was muted. Good morning. And if you're just joining, we're giving our finance chair 1 minute to log in, etc., and then we'll get started.
Okay. Back. Christina, we waiting to get started, or is it?
No, I'm sorry. I thought I was waiting for you to be ready. Are you good to go?
Oh, yeah. I was thinking to myself, is it me? Is it me? Yeah. I'm sitting here just reviewing stuff. No, I'm
Yep.
really glad everyone. Yeah, if I turn the camera on, my bad.
Good to go.
Yeah.
And just like I texted you just now, just as for you all aware, Chief Penn is out of the office, so Maureen Coleman, our Executive Director for Financial Planning, will be manning the meeting.
Oh, Okay, and I'm okay. I'm glad you said that because I was yeah, because part of me was almost wondering like, gee, are we waiting for Chief Penn to get here?
No.
But okay, yeah, apologies because I was sitting here. So all right, we're good. So that being said, good morning. Welcome to this month's Finance Audit Committee meeting. My name is Tyrone Walker, Chair of the Finance Audit Committee for the Board of Education. And I welcome those participating and those who are listening in. I'd ask Christina if we have the agenda to pull up. While I'm going to comment and say I do enjoy the meetings where we have icebreakers, and that may evolve in my time here, but my tendency is to dive in because it's 8:30 and we're trying to get moving. And so
if you want me to jump in on this one.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, but there are two things on the agenda for the regular meeting and a report. Is Ms. Coleman going to, or Deputy Coleman going to be the presenter?
When it gets to the reports, yes. But before that, we have the two items for the regular meeting. We did vet so one of them is the acceptance of funds for the Adult Education Center, as well as the cooperating eligible entity grants. We did vet this through the Teaching and Learning Committee. They asked great questions, and we, I believe they were all answered in committee, and they moved the acceptance of funds item forward to the regular meeting. I don't know if any board member has any financial questions on this.
So, I mean, I can't see the financial implication by looking at the report. I mean, what I see is that we're obligated to offer it. I don't know if $2.8 million is the most effective way to offer it, but we certainly have to offer adult basic ed and then adult education as it relates to GED and English proficiency and those types of skills. I guess I'll ask, can I ask Ms. Coleman what the financial implication is? Let me throw those on the table. So let me just preface this and say it this way. From looking at the financials through September, one of the key messages is that we are already, we have some significant deficit that we're going to have to cover this year. And so I guess it's fair to say, then does everything get vetted to make sure that every penny is being used effectively, since we're already going to ask them for folks to tighten their belts as we go through this year. So in this case, is this just the lean, not the fat, and so forth?
Ms. Coleman, I don't know if you can answer. I have Dr. Gordon, Dr. Zandrlin Gordon, who was at the Teaching and Learning Committee. I sent her, I think she got tied up, but hopefully she can join us. And I don't know.
And I don't know if Charlene can respond either, but Mr. Walker, these are grants we usually apply for and receive every year. So this isn't really anything out of the ordinary. And these organizations provide regional adult ed services on our behalf. This is really almost kind of like a continuation of funds. We use these every single year. But I don't know if Charlene can respond more about the programmatic side.
I was just going to say the same thing that you said, Maureen.
Okay.
About it essentially being a continuation. I can't speak specifically to each of the providers, if you will, but we do typically partner with these providers, provide those services. I know that Dr. Gordon would have more information about what they actually offer, but it's something that we do year after year.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let me open up to my fellow board members for any questions on this topic before we maybe close out on this particular line item.
I have a good question, Chairman.
Board Member Oliver.
Good morning. Good morning. So thank you. Maureen, you mentioned that this is the grant that we receive every single year. This is the, is it fair to say this is a primary revenue stream for adult ed?
Well, we get the adult ed provider grant, which is given to school districts who actually host an adult ed program, and then we contract out basically these CEE grants are ones that we contract out to other non-governmental agencies to provide additional services on our behalf. So there's really no fiscal downside to this. They basically act as more or less like a subcontractee for us. And it's all money that's funded by the State Department of Education.
And I believe the answer is yes, Kim. This is the primary.
Yeah, we have a general fund contributes some adult ed money, but this is probably the primary funding source.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Other questions? Ms. Coleman, let me ask you a couple clarifying questions. And I think from what you're saying, is it the district acting more as a fiduciary in this situation where we're kind of the pass-through for these state funds?
Yes.
That'd be fair. Two, if this money wasn't spent for this purpose, we would not have the ability to use it for other purposes.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. So it's very targeted, almost earmarked funds. I guess I'm going to direct this to Christine. Maybe be good to have the representative here for the program, but I will assume and I asked that at the teaching and learning committee, they went through the effectiveness of the program, the results they provided, and that was covered at that.
Yes.
At that level.
They did, and they have a nice presentation here if you or any of the viewing public would like to view before the meeting. That is attached.
Yeah. I did, I don't know if you could at one time, I did look at that. Let's see here. Okay.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yes, I was going to say, have we provided enough runway for her to attend that Dr. Gordon can offer some insights?
Good morning.
Good morning,
I'm really
Bob.
so sorry.
Morning.
I didn't realize I had to attend another meeting.
I know, and that was my fault. Don't worry, Dr. Gordon.
No, that's all right. That's okay. So I apologize for being late.
So Chairperson Walker is asking some questions. Would you like to repeat?
Thanks, Christina. I think Dr. Gordon just asking for some highlights here of the program is offering and maybe the effectiveness and impact of the program. If you can speak to that, that would be good. Our program is held for day and evening from 9 until 2 in the day. And in the evening, we go from 6 until 9. We offer ABE, that's for students whose reading and writing is extremely poor. They might have just gotten to grade 8. And then we offer GED for the higher level students. In addition to GED, we offer
NEDP, National External Diploma Program. This program is kind of, you have an assessor and you can work from home online. So it's really for those students who have a job and are not able to come into the building every day. We also offer ESL programs for students who have limited English proficiency. Citizenship, we follow them until they get their citizenship. I think that's the programs we offer at this point in time. These are programs mandated by the state. So if you are offering this, as a matter of fact, the district, I'm sorry, I'm bundling everything, there's so much to say. If the district is asked to offer programs for students who do not have their high school credentials. So every district is required to do that. The state has identified some programs, mandated programs, that if you do these programs, you're entitled to some reimbursement from the state. We are very fortunate because it's on a sliding scale and it is based on the financial requirements or how financially stable your district is. And knowing our Hartford, we are, for every $1, we get $2 from the state. So the district puts up $1, the state gives $2 to match.
Okay.
You might want to ask me direct questions if I've rambled around too much.
No, thank you, Dr. Gordon. I'm trying to be careful not to make you replay what you did for teaching and learning committee. But I think I thank you for at least putting some framework around the scope of the program and what it offers, and also talking about some of the financial implication that that we actually get a 2-for-1 support
Yes.
from the state to offer this. So I think it confirms, Ms. Coleman, what you had talked about in terms of it being no financial downside for the district to offer these services. So if there are not further questions, I'm going to ask Christine, what do we need to proceed forward in actual vote? The recommendation, just tell my other committee members, board members, is to elevate this to the next general board meeting, which
The
would
regular board meeting.
and regular, thank you, and that this topic would be brought up as part of the consent agenda.
Yes.
So that's the proposal. Is there agreement on behalf of board member Oliver and Escobar? What's your feeling here?
I'm okay with your recommendation. I have no objection.
Okay, thank you. Board member Escobar?
Oh, that was me, Miss Oliver.
Oh, okay, I can't see who.
I didn't say, usually I jump in. That's probably why you were like.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, whose mouth was moving there?
So,
sorry, John.
but I concur. No objections. Thank you.
Okay.
In fact, I'm actually very supportive of adult ed. I'm happy to see Dr. Gordon here. Always very good to see you. It's been, thank you for all the work that you and your team do.
Thank you very much. I was smiling when I saw your beautiful face on the screen.
No.
Thank you for your support.
You're very welcome.
Well, thank you, Board Member Oliver and Dr. Gordon. I also will sing some praises. You have a fan base from, I believe, your time at Hartford Public High School. I think you're and so there's been praise for what you've done over the years. So I too appreciate your continued involvement in the district, even at this
Thank
level.
you so much.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I think, Christina, we're prepared to move to the next line item.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon, for joining. I could,
All right.
you can
Go
go.
back to my
You can go.
students.
Yes,
Yes, you can.
Have a lovely day.
you too. Thank you. And for the next item, we have the contract continuation approval for Adams and Knight. That was also vetted through the Teaching and Learning Committee. And for that, we have Dr. Curtis on the call.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to briefly introduce our phase 2 of our marketing campaign that we're bringing before you. I have Reem Noah here from Adams and Knight. We're going to give a really quick, like 5-6 minute presentation and then be available for questions. So I'm going to invite Reem to share her screen and take us through our slide deck. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Curtis. Good morning, everybody. So just a quick reminder to jump in. We always like to start with the end in mind. So what was our goal? As we started this, so we had 3 key goals. One, obviously, recruit the best talent. We wanted to be a magnet for those who want to work in an environment that can make an impact. Right now, we do, the market is very hungry for employees across the board. And so we're seeing a lot of organizations, not only teachers, but everybody needs employees. And so there is a lot of noise out there. So we wanted to create something that was differentiating and that would stand out to also help, number 2, elevate our brand. I remember when Dr. Curtis, when we started talking about this, you said we want to make sure that people know that we are, we want to be recognized as a leading school system for teachers and students, but also that something different is happening here. And so you'll see that in the tone and personality of the campaign that we created. And then, of course, in everything that we do to bring in new talent, we always have to make sure that we're retaining our current talent. And while there can be additional efforts for that, we did feel like our recruitment campaign, just in terms of the message and how we were able to leverage our existing staff, also served as a recruitment, had a recruitment component to it as well, because it induced that sense of pride, being proud to be part of Hartford Public Schools. In terms of the different strategies to reach, our audiences, so we did, and to reach any potential prospect staff members and employees, we did radio streaming audio so that it is more targeted and more cost efficient to use the dollars. Google search, so that's basically paid search. Anybody looking for a job, that's low-hanging fruit. We want to capture them immediately and get them to our landing page. Social media, so being there, and meeting people where they are with our ads, and then driving them to come to our landing page to apply. Digital ads, mobile marketing, and geofencing. And from a partnership standpoint, this was more to help us kind of from an awareness standpoint, make sure that we were on the different sites, on different places, again, meeting people where they are with an ad to say that we are hiring, and to get them to, kind of learn about the fact that we are out there and then drive them to our landing page to take action. So with all of those different tactics that I just talked about in terms of being out there to reach different people, we were able to that campaign generated over 14 million impressions, meaning 14 million times people saw our ads, whether that was on a banner ad or heard it in the radio, 14 million different impressions. And an individual obviously would get more impressions than just one, which also helps from a frequency standpoint, because you need to get that message over a few times to get somebody to actually take action. The most important piece of all of this is that it did drive 47,000 potential prospects to the campaign landing page. And Dr. Curtis has a few breakout numbers a little later that to show even over, month by month what that looked like. So we drove 47,000 prospects to the campaign landing page, with that interest to apply. In terms of just efficiency and effectiveness, so social advertising, so people on social media, that was the most efficient way to get people to go to the site. So of the 47,000 people, 70% of them came to us from social media advertising. And then from an awareness standpoint, the most efficient tactic driving impressions was the display advertising. So that's when maybe you're on a website and you see the banner ads, and that was like, from a cost perspective, it was efficient. And then overall paid search was very effective and efficient. In fact, our over 12%, which really is 70% higher than benchmarks for a lot of the recruitment campaigns that we do. So overall, we were very happy with these results from a marketing standpoint, very effective and efficient. And the other thing, we work very closely with Dr. Curtis and the team and our team to be optimizing month over month as we're reviewing the data and see what works, what doesn't, and we're putting the dollars into the channels that do work. So we make sure that we can make the budget, go further. This is just a breakout of what I just talked about. So again, you'll see the display advertising, social media, you can see the breakout of the budget. And then what it returned in terms of impressions. So again, you'll see display, about 6 million impressions, social media, about 6 million impressions, and these are the clicks, with social media, bringing a lot of clicks, and then paid search, and then display. Again, think of display as more of that billboard, right? I'm seeing it. I won't necessarily always click on it, but on social, we saw a lot more people clicking, coming to our site. Just a quick reminder of our Represent campaign, because we love it so much. So again, the idea was to say, we're hiring, but we're not just hiring anyone. We're looking for people that can connect with our beautiful, capable students, and that we want people in whom students can see themselves. That was critical. And we heard it from everyone that we got the opportunity to meet, your awesome staff and teachers and wonderful, employees. That's what they were saying to us. They worked there, they stayed there because they wanted to be able to represent, and they didn't have that growing up. And you'll see that, and we were able to bring that to life visually, and we were able to tell their stories in these mini stories and what they represent. And we were able to create all of these beautiful images that Dr. Curtis's team, the marketing team at HBS, was able to also leverage and utilize across multiple different ways. So these are all things that you own and you're able to use as posters, as postcards for social. And here were some of the assets that we actually created as well. So you'll see represent strength, represent respect, represent courage. And in the social ads, we're able to actually tell a little bit about the stories of each of our employees as well, and teachers. And then I'll hand it over to Dr. Curtis to talk us through some of the results.
Yes, thank you, Reem. So here are some of our results from our Represent campaign. So like Reem said, we had 47,000 clicks to our landing page. And as you see that, as we were in the market longer, we got more traction. So we started, when we got in the market around April, May, we had 7,000. By the time we got to July, August, which is in the height of hiring during the summer, we were around 16,000, 15,000. If we break down the results of this campaign, this is what we have. Where you see the race and ethnicity breakdown, that is just teachers and teachers who were actually hired this year. So of all the teachers who were hired this year, 53% of them identified as being white, 13.8% identified as being Black or African American, and 21.7% identified as being Hispanic. So our hiring rate of people of color was great this year. If you look at our applicant diversity and our applicant source, now this is across all positions that were hired. So of all our applicants, you can see the breakdown of the diversity. The majority of them, of course, are white, and then after that, it's Black or African American, and then following is Hispanic. But if you look at our applicant source, when we presented at the Teaching and Learning Committee, one of the questions from the board members was, how do we know that you're getting applicants from this actual campaign? And you'll see that when you look at our applicant source, 37.4 of our applicants came from our Indeed social media campaign. We were in the market. We concentrated a lot on our Indeed marketing connection, and you see that we got the majority of our applicants from that source. We can go to the next slide. So now as we go into phase 2, our phase 2 of our campaign is not only represent, but we're saying representation matters. So we want to go into the market, and we're very strategically moving into the markets for HBCUs, the US Virgin Islands, Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico. So actively recruiting people of color, but as we go into those spaces, we want to use channel marketing, and we want to target people of color and say, like, representation matters. The majority of our students identify as people of color. They are students of color. And so we need a campaign that says, like, we want you, people of color, to come in and not only represent the core values of our district, but allow students to see themselves in the people who are in front of them. And if you go to the next slide, and this is how we're going to spend our money. This is how we'd like to spend our money. And I'll invite Jesse into this part of the conversation, because we want to make sure that the board understands that the majority of the money is being spent on paid advertisement. And the more that we can be in the market with our message, the better we have to target the demographic that we're looking at. Jesse, do you want to jump in a little bit and talk about our ability to be in the market with our partners, Adams and Knight?
Sure, absolutely. And Dr. Curtis, you really, I mean, you said it exactly as I would have. I mean, the majority of the budget here is really invested in either media exposure or in creative assets. The creative assets, you know, as a marketing team, as an internal marketing team, we're able to repurpose in a variety of ways. The other thing I would just note is that the more media exposure that we have and branding expertise from Adams and Knight, it helps our ability to get earned media as an internal team. And that's really in getting good PR exposure with different news outlets that we have really good relationships with and building exposure in that way. And so what we do from an internal team really is, you know, in collaboration with what Dr. Curtis's team and what Reem is doing at Adams and Knight as well.
Thank you so much, Jesse. And that is our presentation. So we're available for questions.
Thank you, Chief Curtis. There are questions amongst board members. Board Member Oliver.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I've actually been really pleased with the campaign and look forward to it continuing in the partnership overall with Adams and Knight. I think it's had some great success. Oh, my question, and it may be something that we have to pin for some other time, and if that's the case, please just feel free to say that. Really appreciate the represent piece of the component of the campaign, and really trying to get teachers of color, all of us on this call, know the fact that having a diverse set of teachers is not just helpful for our children of color, which the majority of our children are in Hartford Public Schools, but also all children, right? The data shows that it's positive for all children. My question is, I know that you've been able to get to some of that data and really looking at the different methods, right, and be utilized. Is there any exploration, or maybe the work has already happened, in terms of how to target even more populations of color? Again, knowing that it have these beautiful images of people of color, really trying to draw folks in, but just thinking about, well, if we're trying to get to certain communities, are they online on L&D, Indeed, you know, that kind of stuff. So just wondering that. And again, if it's not for today, that's fine. I just wanted to ask the question.
Thank you so much for that question. That is essentially our entire phase 2 of our campaign. You just nailed it right on the head. It's called channel marketing. I'll invite Reem to describe it a little bit more, but essentially we're creating the message and the imagery, and then we're using specific channels to drive it exactly where we want it to be. So where we would go with our Caribbean population is going to be very different than where we would go for our students in historically Black colleges or universities. But I'll invite Reem to describe better.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. That is a great question. Thank you for your kind words, Boardman Oliver, as well. So what we've been doing as a team here is really, as we look into this next phase, is being able to target Black churches, historically Black colleges, universities, not just to your point, like what's happening just online, but, you know, geofencing. Everyone has a cell phone, right? We're going to geofence those areas. Then we're able to remarket to them at a later time when they're on social and reaching them where they are. So we're looking at a very integrated approach to reach everyone, not just necessarily people online, or, you know, so we'll have even more broken out details, but we're really excited to kind of ramp up this next phase.
I'm so excited to hear that and looking forward to hear more. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Other questions? Then I have questions. It's about representation. Rem, I've gone to Adams Night a couple times. Your leadership page doesn't look representative. And so now I'm turning and looking right to Chief Curtis. We are targeting people of color community. It's 2022 and it's post George Floyd. And these are communities that have been, they get targeted by Adams and Knight and other companies all the time. Now, rightfully so, I'm wondering at this moment, where's the African-American brand marketing firm? Where's Caribbean and people of color leading this team for Adams and Knight? Where is the representation that we're actually telling people, where is that going to be seen? Because I think they deserve to see that somebody like them could actually drive this messaging. The last thing I'm going to say, there's nothing I see at Adams and Knight. They're fabulous at branding and what they've done. I don't see anything at Adams and Knight that say they have some insights into these communities. They understand how to reach them. They understand their hesitancy. They understand how to give them confidence that this is the decision they need to make. Because everyone they're trying to touch is going to be applying to a variety of school districts. Why is Hartford going to be the place they're going to select over all others?
Chairman Walker, thank you for that question. I think it's important to note that when we were, before our first campaign, interviewing marketing agencies, I made the decision to go with Adams and Knight because Reem is a woman of color. And when I described what I was looking for in terms of being in the market for Hartford Public Schools and having a diverse message, what I got back, Adams and Knight represented what I thought was important for our footprint in the market and to be competitive. And so I'll invite Reem to respond, but I want to make sure that that the marketing campaign represents Hartford Public Schools and doesn't represent Adams and Knight. So all the creative is approved by me and my team. So, and the superintendent sees it before it goes out and gets approved and things like that. So it's not Adams and Knight coming up with a campaign or imagery and we putting it out there. It's us approving it and making sure that it's landing on what we think is important for us to be in the market to represent our values as a district.
Okay, so I'm asking then too, that being the case, I understand the skill of Adams and Knight. My expectation where you're sitting would have been to tell Adams and Knight too, that, hey, as part of this multi-million-dollar effort, can you bring in, right, other players, help develop minority or other players? I just don't see any of that in the mix. And so, Reem, if you may be able to tell me a bigger story, but that should be, let me hear you tell a part of that story.
Mr. Walker, I'm sorry, if you don't mind if I interject very quickly. I think this is a really, really important conversation. I hope we can continue having this. I'm just want to see if I can make a recommendation to see if we can have this offline, considering the timing. I just want to be mindful of that. I have to jump off soon. So I'm wondering if this is a conversation we can have offline and continue with the financial implications of Adams and Knight's this contract.
We will get there. This is key to that decision. This is, we're going to spend money. And really what I'm asking Reem is, if all the money that we're spending, how has there not been a sense of we need to bring other voices, other firms, other people of color to be part of this team? She can answer that.
No,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Reem, I did not mean to interrupt. I just wanted to see, I am just trying to be efficient and effective also in my time. Shouldn't this have been discussed in another committee in teaching and learning? I feel like this question is so important. It should have been discussed there prior to coming to finance.
And
Just putting that out
it should have been, but I'm saying this is part of a spending list. That's all I'm saying. Even if it's discussed there, I just want to put it on the table. So if she gets what I'm saying, then in the future, they need to understand that if we're spending money, they need to be thinking about this as well. So
I'm happy to share the team members, a little bios of them. We actually do have on our media team that we have brought on in the last year, African-American senior media director who's actually helping. And we have added additional team members who actually live in Hartford and are very familiar with Hartford. So not only are we leveraging tools and doing research to continuously get those insights, we actually have hired and brought on additional team members who live and breathe and can bring on those insights as well. So I'm happy to share those bios and share some of the additional insights and tools offline. I'll send that to Dr. Curtis and she can share it with you.
Thank you. I would like to, that sounds positive. And I would further impress upon Adams and Knight to give opportunities to other firms, other firms and players in the spaces as well that can sub with you. This is a multi-million-dollar spend for the district for this purpose. And I'm glad the next time I would like to see some of those members as part of the presenting as well.
Happy to do that.
Chairman Rigor.
Yeah, and I appreciate the exchange here. I guess my question, or at least clarification, is I believe that the board moved and voted on using Adams and Knight for this work. I think Chairman Walker, I think you posed a very good question, which I think we should take in consideration upon renewal. But I think to Board Member Escobano's point, at least for this particular committee meeting, I think I would recommend that we focus on the financial implications of what that means. I do think what you're proposing should be something considered as we look to renew the contract.
I agree, Chairman Rigor. The way this is structured, every 6 months, we are making decisions to give them additional allotment of money. So there's no reason for us not to use our leverage at these points to ask the firm to make decisions. Raymond knows right now. So what I'm saying is they're going to make spending decisions with this money over the next few months. They can make spending decisions based on the comments that I made here today.
So I think the spending decisions and the comments, at least from my view, the comments you made are two separate things. So, right, so again, we've, as a board, we voted to use Adam and Knight to move this work forward. And there's, right, a body of work that they're going to do for us within the time frame of the contract. I think what you're asking is a more broader conversation in terms of is Adam and Knight, right? How does Adam and Knight represent the work that we want to do?
That's not what I'm saying. I hear what you're saying, Chairman Regar, and I'm going to move forward here. I said to Adams tonight, they're moving forward. I'm comfortable with them moving forward. As part of them moving forward, they do sub work too. They sub out some of their work. So I'm saying this is Adam. I'm saying Adams Knight could. And
may I, when you say sub out the work, I don't understand that. So we're a fully integrated agency. We don't sub out the work. Well, these are people that we hire. And I'm saying we do have a diverse we do have, and we have continued to hire talent. So I'm happy to share, you know, that information in terms of what our team looks like. But in addition to that, we are on this next phase of the campaign focused on partnering with, you know, if you mean like paid media organizations and outlets to, you know, we are focused on reaching and partnering with, you know, to get in front of the right audience and to get in front of our, you know, more diverse and people of color audiences, including, like I said, Black churches and historically Black colleges, universities, and we can share a more detailed outline of that. So we'll continue to find those opportunities and make sure that, you know, we're utilizing the dollars with that more directed channel strategy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all your questions.
Okay. Chief Curtis.
Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate that when we're in partnership with Adams and Knight, we have a meeting every week. So Adams and Knight is not making decisions about how to spend our money without it being approved first. So they're not in the market or they're not in any paid socials without it being approved by me first. So we have a dashboard that we use and we have a scope of the work. And then we look every week to see how it's performing. And if it's not yielding the results that we think we should get, we have crucial conversations about where we either need to double down or what other markets we need to be in. So they don't just have free reign to push into whatever spaces they want to be in. It's definitely a coordinated effort between my team and Reem's team.
Okay, thank you, Chief Curtis. That's good to hear as well. Any further questions or comments? If there, I apologize. I actually hit the mute button for me. Sorry. I'm looking at moving forward. Christina, is this also going to be on the consent agenda? I can't.
No,
Okay.
This will be on the regular, the business agenda.
Okay, all right. Then let me make that recommendation to move this forward for the next 6 months, the $199,000 to the regular board meeting coming up on November. Chair Regar, Board Member Oliver, Board Member Escobedo. We in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
No objection.
Chair, you are too. So we're moving forward then. I support this as well. And I do appreciate the conversation. I know that I was kind of pressing, but I want these to be a little bit more than just checking the box. I want people to see that we're actually asking a few questions and it's not just checking the box as we move along from year to year, year to year. Reem, I totally appreciate your responses. I'm glad that Adams and Knight has actually been making moves in this direction, and it'd be great to see those members of your team featured as we talk about this initiative in particular.
Absolutely. I'll have them join next time. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, Chief Curtis, thank you. Now we're on to reports.
We are, and we have Ms. Coleman on the call. Nope, you're on mute. You're on mute, Maureen, you're on mute. Sorry, I don't know if you're.
Sorry. Phil's out of town, so he asked me to cover the financial report for him this month. Christina, do you have it up on the screen? Thanks. Basically in September, we have a return to more typical spending levels because of our 10-month staff are back and their salaries and benefits are now charged to the new fiscal year. So year to date, we've spent 55.1 million across both the general fund and our grant funds. This is an increase of about 38 million since the end of August. We have certified salaries and benefits, and non-certified salaries and benefits drove the majority of the increase. Like I mentioned, that because all of our 10-month employees have returned to work. Also driving part of the increase is our uptick in our transportation costs as our bus fleet begins to run in session operations. Encumbrances increased sequentially by approximately 16 million to a total across all funds of about 37 million. Nearly all of the increase was in transportation as we developed full year estimates for our transportation needs. Two issues have emerged as areas of concern since our last report. The first one is based on our decline in enrollment. The Magnet School Operating Grant will be approximately 4.5 million less, down to 52 million compared with the 56 million that we had budgeted. We were intentionally conservative in our budget with respect to our carryover grant revenues for precisely this reason, as we expected enrollment to continue to decline. Nevertheless, we will be working with the school leadership to realign their magnet budgets to the anticipated lower grant level. Second, there's a concern about funding the relocation costs from central office to an alternative site for the remainder of the Buckley construction project. And although those plans have not been finalized, the preliminary estimates could be significantly higher to our general fund budget. Phil will continue to monitor the potential costs, and I'm hopeful that vacancies offer a potential offset as the year progresses. And then on the succeeding pages are the actual dollar figures. The first is the all funds budget, which is the combination of our general fund and our grants fund combined. And then on the succeeding pages are the general fund budget and the special funds or our grants budget. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, Ms. Holman, I have some questions, but I'll ask here. Board members, are there any board member questions?
Yes, I have a question. And I apologize, I was multitasking. Can you talk to us about how we're tracking towards, again, just thinking about last year when we had a potential opportunity for reinvestment. Are we seeing similar trends this year? And if so, how are we tracking towards that?
I think just through the first quarter, it's difficult to tell. Right now, again, we have vacancies in a lot of our positions, so we'll be tracking those. And if those positions aren't filled, we see savings in the salary and the fringe benefits accounts. So I know that's something that Phil and Mark Williams, our budget director, are looking at. But I think right now, especially given the decrease in the Magnet operating grant, I'm not sure if they're tracking on any substantial savings at the moment.
And then I guess part B of that question is, I guess, how are we tracking with vacancies year over year? Is it the same? Are we closing the gap? I think that would probably at least give us an initial insight of kind of how things are moving along for this academic year.
Yeah, I don't know if Tiffany is still on the call. She may be able to give a better response than I can. Because again, the budgeting of vacancies, salaries and positions is handled by the budget division of the finance department. I don't really deal with that on a day-to-day basis, but I know that they've made significant progress in hiring.
Okay.
How,
Thank you.
where they are tracking in terms of last year. I'm not sure, but that's not something I know that Phil can get for you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Rigor, for the question. Board Member Oliver.
Thank you. I just wanted to go back to the issue of concern around the magnet school operating grant based on declined enrollment. So I know we've been seeing that trend. Appreciate the I'm sorry for that. Place is pretty loud, I guess. Being proactive in terms of putting strategies in place. I've since learned in my new 9 to 5 that declining enrollment is something that's happening across the country and actually is not unique to us by any means. With that being said, one of the things you mentioned was the fact that there was these kind of proactive work that was happening. So when I see this on paper though, and I'm seeing like this loss of what looks like $4.5 million, when you say that is proactive, like, there were some conservative numbers, was it just that, hey, we thought some things might be more expensive and so we did it that way, or was it like, some other revenue streams that we're hoping was going to tip the balance? I just want to make sure I understand it, because $4.5 million difference does seem significant. I know this is over 400 million in total, but I'm just wondering a little bit about that. If you can use just a small example or something, that would be great.
Well, I think what they did, Kim, was using up, because we have grants that run for multiple years. So I think what they were planning to do is use up carryover funds in this year to offset the decrease in the magnet operating grant if there was one. And I think that's what Phil is trying to explain in the sentence where he says it was trying to be conservative in their budget. Just because if they had an enrollment decline, they were going to be able to use the carryover funds for that reason, for the lack of funding in the magnet operating grant.
Okay, so in this case, we have the carryover funds as allowable, and therefore you're able to play. Got it. Thank you.
Yes.
There aren't others. Marilyn, this is Tyrone Walker. I have some questions just looking at the budget kind of beforehand. So I'll ask the questions. Some of them we might be able to take offline because I don't want to use them all the time with that. But it's I was really looking at your all funds budget, and there were some numbers that moved fairly significantly from, if I'm understanding this right, we adopted the budget, and then there's this second line called the adjusted budget. And so several numbers moved significantly. And so I just wanted to ask the question, and if you don't have the answer, then it can go to Phil. The first question, though, I think Chairman Rigor got to, which is there's low spending on certified salaries. So I guess I'm going to hold off on that because I think that's something that Chief Curtis will deal with in terms of staffing. But there's this thing called professional contracts and services. It seemed like that number moved like 50%, and I don't understand that per se. It went from like 9,000, 15,000. I don't know if there's some additional expenditures that we didn't anticipate, but and then our encumbrances jumped up a lot too, so they may be tied in. So that's more of a question, what happened there? The other one, I think you already answered, transportation is up, all those students are down, but I'm assuming you're pointing to all those increase in transportation costs that I guess that's the answer to that.
Yeah.
It's just straight costs. Then the last two then are further down. It's under communications. It jumped a bit. There's a communications line item, and then there's something called instructional supplies, which also jumped up a bit. It's called instructional other supplies, jumped up significantly. And then, yeah, communications, fairly significant move. Is there a reason for any of those, or?
So for the instructional supplies, any of those would be like captured by the back to school orders that were probably entered in early September around the beginning of school. Because typically what the schools will do is they will encumber like a blanket purchase order for a set amount of money. Say for instance to Staples, our office supply vendor. So they'll say they're going to estimate to spend like maybe $10,000 for the year. And so they will put in a PO in for the full $10,000 and then just order items off of that against for the whole school year. So there's typically a big jump in those accounts right around when school starts. The communications, I'm not sure. Maybe Jesse could respond to that, but I know the transportation again is because they start entering once they have their demographics and they know their bus runs between the increase in the contract and then if they have to add additional transportation needs, they will put those purchase orders in at the same time, again, at the beginning of the school year. And up above in the two, the professional improvements and the professional services, those are the contracted services. And I think, based on the contracts you've approved to date, anything that was approved prior and was entered in the month of September will be captured in this financial report. We can get you a listing of what those are if you'd like. Phil didn't give them to me before he left, so I don't know what they are, but I'm sure it's not just one contract. It's probably multiple contracts.
So, okay, he did send me a list of contracted services, but are you saying that? I guess what I'm saying is it looks like the budget got adjusted. So, are you saying that there are things we approved that wasn't in the planned budget? Is that what you're saying for that line item?
Right. If you see a difference between the adopted budget and the adjusted budget, it's because the way Munis works, there needs to be money in the account code in order for a purchase order to go through. Otherwise, the software stops the transaction. So these would be things that would be approved by the board, and then subsequently the budget staff would move the funds into the appropriate line item to cover those expenses.
Okay, thank you, Maureen. So, all right, it sounds like there may be just some education I need to get around the timing and how things move between the period we adopt and then the period that it gets adjusted when, like as you suggest, school really starts. So, Christina, I think maybe just an action for me, maybe to have just a follow-up with Phil just to kind of get that a little bit of better education about that piece. The other thing, Christina, I wasn't captured kind of what Phil Gregori talked about, which is a note or action to Chief Curtis, where we're tracking the teacher shortage thing and what's happening to it. Is it growing, staying the same, being closed? Because I think that may help us understand how that certification salary budget will move for the year. And you get the point. Better that she produces that than us asking that here in this committee. That's all the questions that I had. I don't have anything further. Is there further questions or comments from board members? Or
No.
I think that was it. Well, then it looks like we get to end early, which is not a bad thing at all, to end early. So I'm gonna thank everyone for their participation and thank the board members for lending in your insight and input. And also, I appreciate you indulging me a bit on as of night. But with that being said, I'm going to say this committee is adjourned.